Hey, greetings everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal program.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep and put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
You know, we're here on the floor of True Velocity Ammunition. And the great thing about this, my home in Garland, Texas, is 5 miles away. And what we wanted to do was show you some of the incredible technology that is right here in Dallas County, in Garland, Texas, that means a lot to our warriors on the battlefield. So I am joined with Kevin Boskamp, who is the founder, CEO, and chair, and also Chris Teffer, who is the COO here at True Velocity. Tell us, how did this come about, Kevin?
Roughly 16 years ago, I was approached by a gentleman that had a few patents on lightweight munitions, and we got involved with him, and that was the beginning of it around 16 years ago. And I was a little bit taken back when we started to kind of underwrite the market, that there was nothing around lightweight munitions. It's the heaviest thing our soldiers carry day to day. So I started to underwrite it, approached Chris Tedford here in Garland, Texas. Knew that him and his father, 67 years of aerospace manufacturing defense work here in Garland, and really wanted to dig in and see what we could do and bring this company to the forefront to be able to give this capability to the company.
And your background, is it in technology, innovation?
My background is oil and gas, and
okay.
So this gentleman raised quite a bit of money here in town, and was sought after. He was looking for capital. And so that was how he ended up in my office. I grew up in a small Central Texas town, shooting a lot. Been around weapons and ammo for my entire life. So I was just taken back that this thing was 30% lighter, and he could figure out how to encapsulate this gas and pressure and get this thing to work.
Now, Kevin, Chris, your background is in manufacturing.
It is.
What drew you to True Velocity?
Well, first, just visionary here, and he had a great concept and a great idea. And then what really drew me was the consumable nature of the product from a manufacturing standpoint. You know, you just keep producing it. And then I think from a challenging standpoint, from a personal challenge, to be able to come in and be on the forefront of transforming something that hadn't been changed in 107 years. I mean, it's pretty hard to think of a technology that hasn't had some sort of innovation or change in 107 years. So creating the manufacturing methodology, how you inspect it, how you ensure the quality from the first part to the 100 millionth part is that was a very exciting opportunity.
Now, you talked about, Kevin, you met a gentleman who had a few patents. How many patents do you have now with True Velocity?
Over 300, probably approaching 350 patents. And that was the strategy behind the company. Was really after we started to underwrite the market and understand there was virtually no IP around lightweight munitions. It was, again, I just couldn't believe it hadn't been done, and why hadn't it been done. And then you start to understand our government and learn some things, not the most efficient from a business standpoint. So we really wanted to capture the IP part of this business, and we've spent the better part of 13 years securing the IP around lightweight munitions because we're a licensing technology company. You know, we're not we never really strive to be a production company, because this product belongs in the hands of anyone that's fighting for freedom in the world.
Absolutely. And so from the manufacturing aspect, we're sitting here on the floor of the company, and we're having a nice conversation. Normally people would think, manufacturing ammunition, bang, boom, all this type of stuff. Why is this so innovative? What generated this?
First, the challenge that he threw down was, hey, I know you've got a great company over there, but I don't want it to look like that. So we had kind of an open book, and a blank sheet, and with that, we were able to really encapsulate 21st century technologies from the way that we inspect it, the way that you manufacture it, which means that we could wholesale change the paradigm of what used to be and really bring it to what it can be, which is what our warfighters and law enforcement officers deserve.
Yeah, I got to tell you, having been, in combat operations in Iraq and Desert Shield, Desert Storm, this is the most impactful thing when you talk about the weight that a troop has to carry. And it really does hold them back when you think about mountains in Afghanistan, having humped those mountains.
Oh.
Tell us about this, because, this is an incredible, I don't know what to call it, just absolutely incredible that you came up with this polymer casing instead of the brass casing.
Yeah, as you start to really figure out, when we started the company again, it was about 30% lighter, and we really thought that should be enough. But as we started to have tests run and different companies using it and testing it, they'd come back and say, you're holding accuracies and MOAs that we've never seen. And there's no heat in the chamber. We're like, run 200 rounds through a 240 and stick your finger in the chamber. You wouldn't do that, right?
No.
And we got guys doing that and virtually no heat in the weapon. And then people calling us back and say, hey, there's less recoil. Do you know there's less recoil in this weapon? We're like, of course we're like, no, but we use 10 to 15% less powder to get the same ballistic event. And then the signature, all of a sudden the signature was reduced significantly.
Yeah.
So all these things started to come about as we started to kind of unveil, the product. So it's just been, it's been an amazing journey, to see all these things kind of coming at us.
That's the brilliance of the free enterprise and the private sector. Let's do the comparison with Lake City, which is the sole source of our ammunition for our military and also, to civilians in a way. How have you challenged them and shown that you can be more effective, more efficient, and still maintain the accuracy?
Well, I think a lot of that goes into the greater capability that this manufacturing style affords us. We're holding, if you think about it, we're holding 60,000 pounds of pressure in a chapstick tube. So the only way you can do that and even have greater pressures in that casing is to think about it differently.
Yeah.
And allowing the freedom of our engineers to go and think outside of the box, to get outside of the paradigm, and then to apply technologies from the aerospace industry, the oil and gas industry, the medical industry, the semiconductor industry, and take all of those disciplines and bring them in to transform something is what has made us completely different. And able to do that and challenge the paradigm of Lake City, which we've heard, commissioned in the 1940s, still using the same type of equipment. It's a progressive die where you're hammering metal into a form. How you control the quality, how you control the consistency it's tough.
Yeah.
Coming from a background in manufacturing versus this, where we can hold, 4-place decimal. So think about that. And then think about what the consistency that brings to the product, which, by the way, we consider a life-critical item.
Yes.
If it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, bad things happen to our good people, and that's just unacceptable. So why not change?
Mm-hmm.
Why not do something different? Why not do something better?
And I think that's what competition is all about.
Yeah,
sure.
Not just to say that we're relegated to this same old thing that we've always done. Let's look and see how we can innovate it. And the other thing is that when you look at these brass casings, most of that is copper based.
Yeah.
Who are the ones that are out there cornering the raw materials now? You know that question very well.
Well, we studied it. When we first started the company, I think China was in the low 80% controlling copper mines in the world. And I thought I saw a report, maybe a year ago to JP Morgan,
Right.
96% copper mines controlled strategically by China, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this becomes a very strategic play for our own country. I think one thing, touching back to Chris, is one thing we didn't, another challenge I put on him is that we didn't allow one person to work here that had anything to do with weapons or munitions the first 5-6 years. I didn't want any paradigm of like, oh, well, this is how brass does it. So we had everyone from medical,
Yeah.
you know, to the rocket, you know, flying, these guys building rockets, and to robotic engineers, to oil and gas engineers, fluid dynamics.
PhDs.
So no one could, you know, so we didn't have any. I mean, the gentleman that actually started this never had shot a weapon, didn't own a weapon,
Incredible.
and didn't have ammo. Then they even know when he first made his first one, they had to call someone to get a weapon to shoot it through. So it's pretty. That shows you though the ability to have creative thinking and
Yes.
no paradigms, right?
Yeah, because you don't want someone to come down and says, well, this is how we did it.
That's
Right.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
because that just stagnates you. Now, being from the oil and gas industry, you hear so many people say that, you know, we need to get rid of ban the fossil fuels.
Yeah.
How do you make this casing if you get rid of?
You don't.
No, I mean,
You don't-
fossil fuels is the lifeline for the world, right? Much less, I mean, this country, you know, specifically, but yeah, no, everything's got some kind of. I mean, he's in the oil and gas business. Everything is driven through fossil fuels, right? And always will be.
Yeah.
There'll never be a day that. I mean, you know, renewables with solar, you know, hydro, wind. I mean,
That's not going to make this.
No, it's 10. No, it'll never make
No.
this. And it's, you know, it's 10% of our now. I mean, when back in the day, it was 1%. So it just doesn't make economic sense, any of those. But we need them all at this point, right, with the growth.
Yeah.
But this product is all driven through petroleum.
As we wrap up this segment, Chris, just kind of orient the our viewers on these three different types of ammunition that they see here. But again, these are all your casings that you make
Correct.
here.
Yep.
Correct. So I'll start with this. We knew that when we came into this market, we had to be backwards compatible with all the currently fielded weapon systems in the DoD, using the current links, using the current solvents, things of that nature. So we spent a ton of time making sure that we were backwards compatible. But on your left, what you'll have is the 5.56, and then we have the 7.62 that's linked right there for belt-fed machine guns, and then the 6.8, and then the 50 caliber over here.
Mhm.
And then also we have a commercially available, our 5.56 and 308 at Bass Pro and Cabela's at the moment.
Yep.
And we did that because of course of branding and you know, making sure that awareness of what was available.
When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about the real national security implications of true velocity and what it can mean for the United States of America. We'll be right back. Greetings, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. In my career from the battlefield to Congress, honor and integrity have always been my compass. When it comes to building a precious metals portfolio for my family, I choose United Patriot Corn. Their commitment to honesty and transparency aligns with everything I stand for. They care about our great country and focus on serving patriots from all walks of life. They've teamed up with veterans of the precious metals market to create a new kind of gold dealer designed to serve the needs of a new type of gold buyer. And that's why I know I can trust them when it comes time to buy my gold and silver. If you value honesty and reliability as I do, then join me. Hey, greetings everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here. Welcome back to the Steadfast and Law program. We are on the manufacturing floor of True Velocity Ammunition, located right here in Garland, Texas, 5 minutes from my home. And we're sitting here with Kevin and with Chris. They are founder and CEO, COO, and also they wanted me to mention Mr. Craig Etchadorn, who is the president of this organization. Let's talk about the national security aspect of this. So we're sitting here, and really, you're not into making the bullet. You're into making the casing for it. But describe to us the machines that we have here to our rear.
So in the front of the facility, we have what's called our first generation production cell. And what we start with on the left-hand side of the aisle over here, we start with the molding presses.
Mm-hmm.
And those create the two components that we then fuse together to become a cartridge case. On the right-hand side of the facility, you'll see is where we do all of the assembly work and the loading. And then from the left to the right, we start with nothing, base components, with completed units coming off of the floor ready to go to the consumer or the warfighter and shoot.
Yeah, what I saw earlier with you is you have these little polymer pellets.
Yep.
And you just, melt it, fuse it all together, and then you shape it and you get the whole thing going. But the great thing about this, everything made here in America.
Everything's made in America.
100%.
Yeah, we were, again, the mission statement behind the company is to give the American warfighter an unfair advantage, but it was also important to get the supply chain, because
Yes.
everything was from the U.S., right? So we didn't want to go abroad to go get things, support our warfighter. We wanted to do it all here, and it was really important to Chris and his family as they're manufacturing 67 years is, we needed to find and figure out the supply chain all be U.S. based.
Let's talk about the capability capacity. On a good day, how many of these rounds can you produce on a good day?
Good day, several 100,000.
Okay.
Once we get the full capacitization. In this facility, we could probably do, once we get fully capacitized, 200 million rounds a year.
Wow.
So, just to kind of put it in perspective, it's more than an 80% reduction in footprint from a traditional manufacturing, brass manufacturing line, as well as a reduction in OpEx.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important as well. It's not just the technology that we've built, we've also risk mitigated the employee.
Yes.
And meaning that we have, from a manufacturer standpoint, I'm on the upper end of people that turn wrenches. The younger generation, they want to be able to go and work with lasers and vision systems, and I want to control it with pushing a button, which is incredible. So we designed and developed a system that mitigates that employee supply chain risk or team member supply chain risk, and allows them to come in and really do some things that are transformational to support the warfighter.
When I look at these units, one of the things I was so impressed with is that this is not just the manufacturing facility here. Any of these machines is easily deployed.
Yeah.
You have a capability to be a decentralized deployment platform. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we just engaged with a company called Monroe and Associates, Sandy Monroe, who did Tesla integration, and being able to deploy a full line or actually the facility, right? Eventually, if it's a country or a company, you're looking for ammo independence.
Yes.
Right? And so that will be derived from a facility. You might have a country says, I'd like a 60,000 square foot facility that will generate 100 million rounds. Well, this full facility with Monroe will be integrated and deployed. Or you can just go down to the Gen 3 that can be put in a Connex and ship somewhere and make ammo immediately.
So does that give us the capability? Let's say I'm at Fort Bragg. It'll always be Fort Bragg to me.
Yeah.
But if I'm at Fort Bragg, I can come to you and I can lease one of your Gen 3 platforms, and I can manufacture my own ammunition right there at Fort Bragg.
100%. I mean, that was the goal, right?
Distributed manufacturing, point of use, mission specific, available ammunition right there that de-risks the whole supply chain. Instead of waiting 1, 2, up to 10 transfer legs, it's automatically right there and at the fingertips of the soldier ready to go.
We've had a number of senators here. Senator Tillis, by the way, has been here.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we discussed is, why do we store 10 years worth of ammunition? We spend more money in this country demilling ammunition than we do making it.
Wow.
And I was like, how can that be? Well, they need wartime. You need 10x the reserves in case. Well, not if you've got distributed manufacturing. You can turn them on everywhere in the country. You've got ammunition.
Yeah.
And you got it immediately. Why do you have the need to store? You don't. So it really changes from a national security. It changes everything.
Yeah.
Right? You're just scratching the surface here.
I was over in Kandahar, Afghanistan at Kandahar Airfield for 2.5 years. We could have had one of these sitting on that airfield, and we could have been creating and pumping out ammunition 24/7, 365, maybe even train some local Afghans. But the most important thing is that now you don't have to worry about it being shipped from the United States of America on C-17 aircraft, and you have a lighter bit of ammunition. It's such a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
It is. It
That-
is a win-win
yeah.
situation.
No,
So
that-
what's your biggest impediment?
Well, mil spec. So military spec specifications that were generated in the 30s and 40s. My saying here is innovate. I mean, mil spec prohibits innovation, and it does.
So the
I've
government.
got to figure out
Yeah.
a way for this to pass a hardness test because brass is harder. I will never pass it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so this is not supposed to get, we need to and Dr. Jetty, who's former ASALT's, working on this with our team. Well, how do we change that mindset of, well, we had a test that was commenced in Crane
Right.
at minus 65. They came out and said, well, we had some failures. We said, okay, well, I said, well, we're reading the report. Walk me through the weapon. Well, the weapon was at ambient. And I said, well, we asked the gentleman, why was it ambient? And he said, well, the weapon won't work at minus 65, sir. I said, what? I said,
Right.
I'm being punked here. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you're making us shoot at minus 65, but the weapon, the
Can't handle
lubricants, it won't handle it. So that mil spec was created in World War, probably
Yeah.
II. The fact they're flying at unpressurized cabins at 41,000 feet. And guess what the temperature is at 41,000 feet?
Yeah.
Minus 65.
Yeah.
So those are the impediments. That's what we've been fighting from day one, is how to overcome mil spec.
And it's better for the health of the troops also, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a dirty little secret with copper. It's called copper fever, and once that copper gets superheated, it'll off gas for
Yeah.
up to an hour, 2 hours, and those toxins really, really impact the warfighter.
Yeah.
Not just to mention, the lead and other things that people hear about, but there's other components in there that really affect the warfighter, and that's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable for us.
Yeah, no,
There is an option.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, you talked about let's talk about the weapons that you have developed. Now, one of them is not here because you're up for getting a bid with, I believe, United States Special Operations Command. We'll
Yep.
talk about that another time.
Yeah.
But tell us about this weapon here that you have developed.
Well, that weapon was created with GD back at
Right.
NGSW, NGSAR is when
Right.
General Dynamics.
with
Yes,
General
General
Dynamics
Dynamics.
when we started. And the requirements on that program was a certain length, certain weight,
Right.
right? And the suppressor, the same thing. And then that weapon's what, 9 pounds?
9 pounds.
And it's a 6.8, but shoots like a 5.56. And he had to have a bullpup design to be able to hit the requirements
Right,
for that
exactly.
program.
So in other words, this is the round that fires out of this.
No.
No, this
Oh,
6.8.
This round right
Okay,
here.
Yeah.
6.8.
Yep,
I'm
yep,
sorry.
Yep.
Yep.
So
the
this
6.8,
6.8, but it still fires like this.
That's correct.
like a 5.56.
Yeah. So
Incredible.
actually, it'll fire like a 5.56.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So the felt recoil is almost 2x differential.
And this is a state of the art. I mean, a lot of people may not understand. This is a suppressor for this weapon, state of the art.
yes,
And again, you're still talking about a lightweight weapon.
absolutely. I mean
Absolutely.
that suppressor, we're really excited about that suppressor. It's the first suppressor to ever get it. Got a partial safety cert through the U.S. Army, first time ever. Machine gun rated suppressor that's lasting 10,000 rounds
Yep.
to the life of the barrel. You never have to change it, and that's just something that no one has ever done. And so that suppressor is going to change the game for our warfighter.
What makes you excited every day you come here to True Velocity?
For me, it's been the journey of just meeting gentlemen like yourself,
Oh,
right?
you two stop.
But it's the truth. It's you guys have served, made a difference. We've got 200 something years worth of service members here, all special forces, all walks,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that for me is what excites me, right? We've got those types of people that work for us. They're investors, shareholders that want to make a difference. We've got a number of veterans that have kids that are serving today.
Yep.
Dave Stouffer comes to mind. His son's a machine gunner in the Army, and he wants this 338 weapon,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that excites me. That moves me, right? To really make a difference for our country. Again, I didn't serve. Chris didn't serve.
But
we-
you are serving.
But
we can serve.
we can serve this way.
That's
and
right.
that's really what excites me each and every day.
How about you, Chris?
I think just to echo Kevin's sentiments, really seeing the transformation that people come up with and create, and the excitement that they have because they're not inhibited, and they can go and do something completely different that will make a huge difference.
how can people follow you all at True Velocity? Is it possible for people to come and maybe even get a tour of your facility because it's right here in Garland? And how can we make sure that investors learn more about True Velocity?
Well, we have a website, tvmo.com, and yeah, we're always open, and especially to the veterans. We get a lot of calls for veterans. We had the Dallas PD, we've had the Plano PD, the Houston PD, forensic people coming out going, how want to learn a lot about what we're doing. The FBI, Homeland Security, we've had them all. So yeah, we're open to tell our story, right? I mean, it's again, 13 years. It's not like we just started yesterday. So we've been around for a while, but a lot of it's strategic to stay kind of under the radar, but now it's time to come out.
Bring it out to the open.
That's it.
Kevin,
Pleasure.
Chris,
Thank you.
from old warrior and soldier, I can't thank you all enough for what you're doing. And ladies and gentlemen, learn more about True Velocity Ammo. Go to their website and understand that these are incredible products that you can purchase some of these
Absolutely.
already
Bass Pro.
at Bass Pro. And this is really incredibly light ammunition, and that means the difference for our men and women and for our national security. God bless you.
Before they burn it down.